Hey, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mitch Bell. I'm a retired Marine Lieutenant Colonel, and I am the host of Tall Tales with Taco. Guys, if you are watching this, it is because it is only on YouTube tonight. Do you know why? Because somehow I violated the rules of Herr Zuckerberg, and I posted a video of the Dragoons Brit unit over in Iraq in 2005 doing a spinoff on some famous song. It was "Is This Way to Amarillo?" And these guys did a great takeoff on this thing from a Peter Key or whatever his name is over in the UK. Well, this morning I get up and Facebook says, "Guess what? You have been found in violation of our community standards for hate speech." I'm thinking hate speech for a bunch of Brits running around the compound. Now, granted, some of them had their underwear kind of funky, but I mean, they were covered. And I guess maybe two guys came out in Arab dress, so maybe that was offensive. I don't know the reason. I've appealed it because it actually makes me very angry. So for those of you who are usually on Facebook and you watch this, that is the reason why we are not doing Facebook tonight. But I will download the video and then upload it tomorrow when I'm out of jail for the night for being hateful and speech hateful. So Facebook, I know you're not listening and you don't care, but I'm going to say it. I hate you. I hate Facebook. It is becoming a thorn in my side. I only use it to catch up on friends and post some videos, and I can't even do that tonight. I can't reply. I can't do jack. So anyway, if you work for Facebook and you happen to catch this show, know that I don't care. I don't like you guys. YouTube hadn't banned me yet for that, and you can find that video on YouTube if you Google, "Is This Way to Amarillo?" Peter Key or whatever it is, British unit. But I am a little upset. So as you can tell, that's not fun, but that is the way it is. So we continue on with the show tonight. This is pretty dang awesome. Let me talk to you about David Hoffmaster is our guest tonight. And David is a West Point Army officer. Here, I'll throw this up. He graduated from West Point. He served as a captain, got out as a captain, and served in Afghanistan. And he was actually involved with Operation Hammerdown, which was also, if you go back and watch some of our videos, Erik and I know Erik was in Operation Hammerdown, and I think there was somebody else in Operation Hammerdown. But anyway, if you go back and research that Hornet's Nest and watch that, you're going to catch David in that as well. And without further ado, my guest, David Hoffmaster. Here we go. David, how are you, brother?
What's going on, Taco? How are you?
Hey, I'm doing okay for being a little pissed off about going to jail the night before my show with you, because you probably shared that link on Facebook and now it's gone. It's nothing, right? So you're going to have to share the link on YouTube. I'll actually post it tomorrow, and I'll send you a link on Facebook if they let me back on. But let's see what happens.
All good. It happens. Yes, it's a crazy world. I got to hear your intro there. I don't have the answers for that, but it's certainly frustrating when you're trying to run a show like yours and bring in on guests, and all of a sudden you have no idea how you're going to do that. So,
well, it's not even like I posted something radical. You know, to me that's not radical. It's a bunch of Brits having fun doing this takeoff priority, spoof on the thing that was on BBC One or whatever the TV show is. And to me, it was Brit gave it to me in 2005 when I was over there. He goes, "Hey, mate, you log a copy of this," and he had his flash drive, and I downloaded a copy. So it was mine. It was on my computer. I saw it. I haven't seen it in years. I thought that was funny, and everyone used to email it to me and go, "Hey, man, that guy looks just like you," at the beginning. If it's grainy, yeah, he does kind of look like me a little bit, but he's far better looking than I am.
Well, yeah, and that's the problem is, in the military and in our industry, there's a lot of black humor. There's a lot of comedy, and that's just something that allows us to kind of get by with our jobs in some ways. And that's just part of who we are. And there's not, when you're sharing that kind of stuff, especially, it's pretty frustrating that the algorithms of Facebook and, the current powers that be are taking that down, and then not only taking it down, but pausing you. Like, they're not letting you be a member of society because there's no other alternative.
Yeah, no, they could have just deleted it. I wouldn't have cared about that.
Sure.
Delete it, but put me in jail for 24 hours. Damn it, man. Damn it, Jim. And I try to stay away. I was usually pretty vocal and on my opinions on the elections in the past and different items. But this year I made a vow. I think it was start last year. I made a vow that I would not talk politics on Facebook because it's wrestling with pigs in the mud. They get dirty and enjoy it. You just get dirty and they enjoy it. So I said, no, I'm not going to do it. So none of my stuff has been really controversial. And I'm like, of all things, this. Anyway, hey, let's go back to talking about the bros.
Sure.
You're a West Point grad. When did you start the academy?
So I got there back in 2005 and then graduated in 2009, coming originally from Chicagoland area up in the northwest suburbs, Arlington Heights, and then ended up in Northwest Indiana, which is affectionately known as the region. And so left from that area and headed out to New York, and actually played basketball there for my freshman year. And then ended up, I wanted to get into the military since I was a kid, probably almost like middle school. I knew that I wanted to go to West Point. So,
see, do you know what's awesome about that is 2001 was only a few years before. What, 8th grade, 9th grade?
I was a freshman. I can remember, we're hitting our 20th anniversary now of September 11th. I was a freshman getting ready for football practice, and they canceled football practice, for obvious reasons.
Right.
But yeah, I can remember that vividly. I had known on the school bus back to my house, and then sitting home. My mom was a 4th grade teacher, and my dad was working in community work in the inner city. So I was at home by myself, and I was watching the news and watching all that play out at that time.
Yeah, it's amazing too, because how many kids, even at that time, still opted to go into the military, knowing that they were going to go and serve and go to war, either Iraq or Afghanistan. So love you, man. I think that's awesome. Every person out there that raises the right hand, even during a time of war, knowing that they're going to step on the footprints and then go off. Yeah, they're heroes in my eyes. So do you think, I always wondered, do you think West Point prepared you enough to be a leader out in combat?
Yeah, the West Point debate, you've been in the industry of military leaders, and you are probably more connected than almost anyone I know in that industry. West Point has its good reputation and bad reputation in some ways. I think, looking back, I'm a very happy-go-lucky person. I like to break the rules sometimes. Yeah. So West Point I had a love-hate relationship, but I will say that I think they did the best they could, and I don't think there's a single better place out there that would have prepared you, for what was to come. We had a lot of combat leaders, especially in my time, that were just coming back from the early stages of Iraq and Afghanistan, and we got to train under them. We had a lot of summer leadership training, and at the time, if you're a young kid that has never served, of course you're not going to know or take it as serious as you should. But with that being said, I think we were all pretty lucky to have the leaders that we did there, and some of them were the guys that you never wanted to see again, or the tools, or whatever you wanted to say. But by and large, it was a really good family, and a lot of the people that I served with, even my classmates, they're my friends. They'll be my friends till the day I die, and so you got really lucky with that kind of thing.
Well, we always said, there's 10% of any group that's going to be jerks, right? 10% of all officers are jerks. 10% of all Marines are jerks. 10% of whatever. We always say that there's 10% of any group, and that certainly holds true with any organization. But I have to say personally, Chuck Busick, if you're listening to this, class of 78, was a mentor of mine over in Afghanistan as an IA working with the Army over there. And Chuck was a West Point grad. He's probably one of the best cooks I know. And also just a great leader, retired as a colonel. So I was fortunate and blessed to have worked with some superior Naval Academy guys and West Point officers, Air Force Academy guys. I had General Walters. I think he was class of 75. But so I've been very fortunate. So you go and your unit heads over to Afghanistan in 2011.
Yes.
So how long had you been in the fleet? We call it the fleet. How long had you been out in a unit before you got to deploy?
So not too long, and I want to quickly circle back to the West Point thing. I think what you said there is good, that we all have these people that are helping us. I think with West Point, the one thing that has dinged West Point at times is the arrogance that some people have felt. But if the leaders that have humility and understand that they need to come into a unit and learn rather than thinking they have all the answers,
right,
are usually, some of the top officers that I've ever worked with.
Yeah.
So, if you have that humility, a lot of those people are just really awesome people to work with. And I guess that goes across any industry. You never want to work with an arrogant person, but the people that are humble, but also willing to learn are usually the ones that you want to work with.
Well, I don't know if it was the same for you, but they told me when you get to your unit, find a sergeant or a staff sergeant or a WO1 and latch onto that guy and use him as your sounding board and listen to everything that guy says, because he's going to give you some great advice. Otherwise, you're going to fall on your sword, my friend. And I thought that was good advice.
Oh, 100%. So when I got there, so I was a middle of the road West Point cadet. And if we had a graduating class of 1,000, I was probably ranked 550, 600-ish. And at West Point, you choose your branch based off your rank, and then you choose your destination based off your rank. So infantry was pretty much out of the books for me, unless I wanted to go to polk.
Right.
And I'm not someone that really enjoys rolling around in the mud anyway. So I was like, well, I can choose field artillery, go to an infantry unit, and get Hawaii. So I chose that route, and immediately went to Fort Sill for.
Oh, you're artillery guy.
Yeah.
What?
Exactly. Right. So I started at Fort Sill and then went in 2010 straight to Schofield Barracks in Hawaii and got attached as a fire support officer to 235 Infantry, Cacti, left-hand high. So we were a light infantry with 3rd Brigade out there. And I arrived just as they had come back from Iraq.
Right.
So it was reset for us, which, for our listeners that aren't aware of that, it's kind of like the downtime where you get back from a deployment and you're given time to spend with family. You get your equipment back in order. You kind of almost like just play sports and all that kind of stuff, which for me, it was lucky because I didn't have to jump into anything too serious. But within 2 months of that, we were told that we were going to be deploying to basically the worst area in Afghanistan in a year and a half. So the reset was very short. It was like, all right, it's time to get going. And for me, almost to go back to what you were saying, I had a unit that just got back from Iraq. So I knew, like, all right, I have nothing really to add here other than my energy and probably my physical fitness. So I immediately got appointed like the physical fitness officer. And I think some people hated me for that because I made it hard on everyone, but I knew we were going to the mountains and, we were going to be doing all kinds of stuff there. But other than that, I was just trying to learn as fast as I could, because as a fire support officer, I would be calling in the airstrikes, doing in all the, walk-ons with the Apaches, Kiowas, artillery. And so it was a job that, of course you learn in training.
Sure.
But in combat, it's a whole different story. And one mistake messes everyone up.
So Daniel Flores, I had him on the show, and he Above the Best was his show for the Apache. Have you caught that by chance?
Yeah,
do you know him?
Yep.
Or do you know Daniel?
I do not know Daniel, but I've seen the show.
Oh, wow. Okay. So Daniel was doing the Apache work, and Sabby was doing the medevac stuff, the Dustoff for you guys.
Oh, wow. Okay. So Daniel would have been one of the guys probably on Hammerdown for sure.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I have to send him a message and find out if he was out there, because there was some serious stuff. And I asked him the videos that he did. I was like, how did you actually mount these things? And watching the video on my big screen in the room, I'm like, I can't even see where these guys are shooting from. So, where the hell where you're shooting? But were you guys as bad as everybody else stuck down in the bottom of a ravine somewhere getting shot at?
Yeah. So, I mean, it was crazy. Like I told you before the show, and we've talked before, I arrived Advon for our unit. And when I arrived, the 101st was getting ready to leave, and that was No Slack Battalion. And they just had a long year, and they just finished off what the movie Hornet's Nest covered, which is Strong Eagle, Operation Strong Eagle. And they lost seven of their soldiers in this mission a week before they were leaving. And so that was a very just eye-opening experience for me. I had never seen combat. I had grew up in a generally okay area, and so to get there my first day in country and see that was certainly eye-opening. And we were listening to the artillery go off every single minute basically, and hearing the helicopters coming in and out. And then the third day I was there, I was there with the memorial. I walked out of the TOC, and Petraeus and his entourage were there to do the memorial. And so it was just like, whoa, it's kind of a shotgun blast of the reality of what we were going to be doing, because we were replacing this unit, and that valley they just cleared would be our valley that we'd be clearing, in the future. And I'd seen Restrepo. I'd seen all these shows. I was a history major, so I'd read all the books too.
Yeah.
And, you read all this stuff and you're like, whoa, it's going to be a long year. And in May, so I arrived in March. By May, the spring kind of fighting season starts kicking up a little bit. And by then, our first air assault mission, we had someone killed, and then we also had someone wounded. And on that mission, I was, again, on the radio more than anyone else. So first mission, air assault mission, was a 9-line that I had to call in right away. It's right. Like that kind of training thing. You're like, I probably will never have to do this. My first air assault mission, I was calling in 9 lines and calling in. I think probably we were out on this mountain for 3 days. They brought us in, and we were Overwatch, and I probably called in over probably. Yeah.
How about this?
Yeah.
1 second. Did it look like this?
Yeah. So that's Hammerdown, and yeah, it does.
And can you hear the sound on that?
I can't hear the sound, but
I'm not sure what I got to do to get the sound. But I'll tell you, if you guys Google Hammerdown and watch this video, it is nothing but 20 machine guns going off. It is loud and incredible. Just
so
incredible deal.
Yeah, so I guess to jump right into Hammerdown, we'd been going on constant patrols over the summer, and typically the strategy of the Afghanistan operation was to clear out these valleys every once in a while, to deny access basically to Bagram, to Kabul, to Jalalabad. And because these mountainous areas were basically infill routes from Pakistan with Al-Qaeda and the Taliban. Now, the strategy was kind of a little bit flawed, but they kept doing it over and over and over again. So they would send in our infantry units. We clear out these valleys every summer, and then do it again every summer. So for us, that was Hammerdown. And so we go into this operation, and it was a full battalion operation, air assault, flying at night with all the Chinooks. And some of the landing zones were already kind of messed up, so they had to relocate some of us. So we fly in at about 2 a.m. in the morning, and we start clearing down this valley, and it's just treacherous terrain. I mean, for us, we had probably about anywhere from 80 to 120 pounds of gear. Anywhere from our body armor to the ammo, water, food. You had to carry everything because you didn't know when we were going to get resupplied. So
sure,
you're carrying all that for the fire forward observers. You're carrying all your batteries as well for your comms. And so we start clearing down this, and people are breaking their ankles, hurting their knees, all that kind of stuff. And about midday, our first units start taking pot shots from some snipers, and you're kind of coming down this valley, and our company was the main effort. So you had first, second, and third platoon, but they start splitting up a little bit more than they should because of the terrain. So third platoon gets down the mountain a little bit. They start taking some pot shots. We're still a little bit more in the rear, coming down like basically the middle, and we're seeing this. Nothing too bad, but they immediately start having issues because one of their inexperienced forward observers called in a Apache run, and we had friendly fire.
Oh no!
So
how many guys got hit? 2.
So it was a ricochet round, and thankfully no one serious, but one took a round through his hand, another through a shrapnel through his leg. So immediately you're like, oh great, like we haven't even started the mission and we have this.
And you don't even rate a Purple Heart on that. Damn it!
I don't know. Yeah. So we're doing that. I think, and this is where Erik's story starts.
Right.
That part right there. So we start going down this mountain, and our unit, our platoon, which is second platoon, our first platoon, we're coming down, and all of a sudden we just hit about a 270-degree ambush. I mean, from what they described, about 150 people. We hit right where they wanted us to come, and there was only 30 of us with about 15, 20 Afghan National Army attachments.
Yeah.
And within the first 15 minutes, we had lost an interpreter. My best friend Dimitri, who was the platoon leader of that, was killed immediately. One of our engineering NCOs was hit, and he ended up passing. And then about 3 or 4 other people were shot in that opening ambush. So you're already almost like combat ineffective at that point because you're down 5-6 people right away.
Right.
And that was the first time as fire support officer, I almost never, I could have literally threw my rifle in the truck because I'm always on the radio. Like when we get in a firefight in Afghanistan, you're in the mountains, you want the Apaches, Kiowas, and Air Force to come in because they bring so much more heat. So that was my job. But this is the first time in Afghanistan where I had to, fire my rifle and I was actually targeting people, where you just saw it everywhere. I mean, we just got lit up from all sides, and you heard it from everywhere, RPGs, grenade, all that kind of stuff. So it was crazy.
God, sound of the bullets whizzing by, cracks.
So I was used to that, thankfully, by then. Our base was every base in Kunar and Pech was set up in the mountains, and you got shot at almost every day, whether mortars, rockets, or whatever. So you got used to what they would do is they couldn't stay out there too long because we had mortars and our own artillery, and return fire would basically make them never coming back again. They'd be going to the afterlife. But you get used to the sounds of the zip and crack and all that kind of stuff. But this is a whole different ballgame. I mean, it was consistent for I think from probably 2-3 o'clock in the afternoon till about the time that it got dark. And even when it got dark, it was still going on. And then you
couldn't even get the guys up to the medevac zone, could you?
Nope. So that's how we lost a few of them, is because the medevac crews, Erik, and that's kind of what made his story. They tried coming in a few times, and the fighting was just too intense. I mean, you saw the RPGs, you saw the machine gun fire, all that kind of stuff, and you just couldn't do anything about it. So they almost lost at least 2 birds, but thankfully, I don't know how. I mean, if you listen to Erik's story, it's incredible. I mean, there's a reason it's incredible, because on the ground it was insane. So for them to make it out alive, all of them, I mean, it's crazy.
If Sabby's listening to this, I still, any of those medevac guys, Dustoff, medevac, anybody going into battle like that, knowing that you're going to get hit, you're going into a hot zone and you're catching rounds. It's like, where do you find it's like the guys getting off the landing zones in Omaha Beach with just machine guns stitching everybody in front of you. The bravery is demonstrated by us when it's called for is amazing. So hats off to all you guys getting whacked. I mean, seriously. I mean, you guys were in the thick of it, getting schwacked left and right, and here you are having to hold your own until help could come, right?
Yeah, and I want to give a shout out to some of these guys, Santos and Only, and some of these other guys in this platoon because in the same sense that we're trying to get these helicopters to come and medevacs come in, we're trying to clear the area so they can do that. And then myself and about 2 others were in constant, I mean, when I say constant, for hours on end talking to the Apaches and Kiowas. And at a certain point, I think, as Erik has said, they're almost like breaking regulation because some of them were literally they're supposed to fly in tandem. And
right.
Some of them were just leaving one to go refuel with one on station just because it was that bad, and they were just trying to give us some kind of support. And they just did a phenomenal job over the course of the afternoon. Eventually we kind of got the upper hand, but it took a long time. It took a long time to get there, and even to get reinforced. This is where it even gets crazier. I mean, Hammerdown's an insane mission, right. And for those that are listening, you can research it. In the evening, they decided to send a Chinook, 2 platoons, about another almost full battalion to come reinforce because it got so crazy.
Right.
But the Chinook either took rounds or clipped a tree or altitude type thing and it crashed. So we're sitting down in the valley. This platoon is supposed to come and reinforce us. And then all of a sudden we have a fallen angel. And when I'm listening to this on the radio, and it's just like, holy shit, like how much bad can be going on? Somehow no one died on it. Somehow, they were able to.
Really?
No one died on it. And that was in that summer, we had 3 Chinooks go down. One was the horrible one with the spec ops guys that everyone went down. But our battalion alone had 2 Chinooks go down. That one, and then my same company had another one that took an RPG through the belly in Kunar just a month and a half later and crash landed with no one dying either.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was crazy, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Mom, buy me a lotto ticket.
Yeah. So it went from, almost like a rescue mission for our platoon to now having a fallen angel and a platoon that is completely just combat ineffective in some ways. So yeah, it was crazy.
Now, were you married at the time?
Yeah, I was. Mm-hmm.
Where'd you meet your wife?
She was from Highland, Indiana, Evansville, Indiana. And I met her up there at church. Yep.
Cause you're an Indiana guy.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Okay. So you guys are married. She's over in Hawaii with you, enjoying the sun and fun. And you're now over in Afghanistan. Got it.
Mm-hmm.
It must have been a tough time for her too.
Yeah. I mean, military spouses go through a ton, and I can remember out there, especially, in an infantry unit that's on that, you go code black for a while, which for those listening is like comms are done. So if someone gets hit or you lose a, soldier, they shut off all communications until the family member is.
What'd you guys call it?
I think it was like code black or something, or,
because we called it River City.
Yeah. It was like blackout. It was just kind of whatever, blackout comms. And, so you shut off all comms and until the family member is informed.
Yeah, we called it River City. It would be like River City in effect. So you could, I'm getting emails from my wife. I can't reply. It's almost like being in Facebook jail. Yeah. I can see everybody's comments. I can't reply. I can't I can't share. I can't do anything. So I'm sitting there frustrated. And finally, I was having lunch with the comm officer, and I told him, this River City thing, I understand it, but I can't communicate for PPRs to get PPRs because I was the assistant air boss. Mm-hmm. And the guy goes, "Oh, I'll put you on the safe list." So he put me on there. So then after that, I could still at least reply and say, "Hey, honey, if something ever happens, don't worry. If you don't hear from me for a couple of days, they've shut down communications. But if you see somebody knock at the door, then that's when you worry." But
yeah, it's not a good feeling though. That's for sure.
No, you feel helpless. Mm-hmm. But at the time, I know that you weren't thinking about that. You're just like calling. Yeah. So you did a year of this, and how long were you all up there in the valley? Out of that year, the entire time?
Well, so we were in Kunar the whole time in Pech. So I mean, it was all valleys. Even our basic missions of just leave the fob and go out on a foot patrol, you're still going into these valleys. So outside of just engaging local leaders and hoping that nothing goes wrong there, you're fine. But I would say, at least every week you have something crazy happen. I remember even going into this city with city, a town of 150 people outside of one of our bigger bases. And it was the same platoon. This was right before, probably about a month and a half before Hammerdown. And we got hit by a VBIT. It was the only one in the entire year that happened. But 3 dudes drove up while we were meeting with local leaders and tried, again, miracle, no one died.
Wow.
But they drove right up into the whole platoon and, hit. We were all up in the MRAPs, the, upper armored basically vehicles, which we rarely could take because you can't drive those into the valleys. But when we could go into, a local town, we'll take those. And thankfully everyone was kind of either in those vehicles or in the home with the leaders. Those homes are kind of like bomb shelters almost. So, blew out all the windows, the plume of smoke that's a mile high, and somehow everyone lived except for the people in the vehicle. So they got what they deserve, karma, right? But yeah.
My first week and a half I was there, I got sent up to Jalalabad.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going out to Fort Apache, the Bronx. It's up in the mountains. It's like 6,000 foot elevation. And we had we had Hawaiian National Guard guys. They were the, what do we call them, Mets and Mets or something. They were the guys that were attached to this police compound.
Okay.
So they would escort us in their Humvees, and they had like a 50 and a Mark 19 on the other one. And then we had 2 up armored pickup trucks. So we drive out to this place and we go up in there, and the, oh God. That to me was very interesting in terms of working with the guys, and maybe you experience this as well. Like, we give them brand new vehicles, and I show up and I've got a list of all the brand new trucks. And so I'm checking the mileage, the VIN number, checking the mileage. I'm looking at the tires are completely worn out. So the police chief, my interpreter's like, Colonel Bell, they require new tires. I'm like, this is BS. This thing's got less than 300 miles on it. And so what'd you do? Take the tires off, sold them out in the black market, put the beat up ones on. He brought out all these piece of crap AKs that the guys had. Well, they sold their good AKs on the black market, and they were getting the bad AKs and trying to get replacements. I'm like, I wrote all the information down, then I left, and I don't know, man. I talk about rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. I think there's a lot of things I want to say right now, but I don't want to get banned from Facebook for being offensive to my Afghan brothers. Put it that way.
Yeah, well, and I think it's such a complex situation. So it's a mess. In some ways, we wonder at a certain point why we were still there for as long as we were. And then what we were trying to do, was the strategy even effective? So I actually got wounded on that mission. I almost broke my spine in half, and I was in Landstuhl. I got medevaced on a bodyboard by the end of the mission to Germany, and did rehab there for about a month and a half, and decided to come back. And the first mission, we go back right into the kind of the same area. It was called Cop, Michigan, which was in Restrepo. Mm-hmm. And the 101st decided to give that over to the Afghans. That they had literally more or less abandoned the Pech, and then our unit decided to go back in and reoccupy it. It's one of those crazy strategy things where you wonder, like, hey, who made this decision? Were you drinking? Were you smoking at the time? Were you playing cards when you made that call? But we go back in, and it's now called Nangalam, and they completely gutted the whole facility. I mean, all the copper pipes, air conditioning, all that's gone. All the plumbing is gone. They just gutted it, and there's stuff all over the walls, feces, all that kind of stuff, and garbage. And so we go back in there to help reinforce this unit, because they're getting overrun by the Taliban and Al Qaeda in the area. And we spend 3 weeks there. It was supposed to be a 3-day mission, and we get stuck in this just kind of
3-hour tour.
Yeah, I mean, it was bad, and we had flooding, and we were trying to do a mission that someone was trying to probably get a good OER bullet, where they were trying to get the Afghan National Police to do a reinforcement of a remote village and bring them humanitarian supplies.
Right.
They did it during Ramadan, and these police roll up, and gun trucks, dozens of them. They roll up to our base. We are occupying it. The ANA is there, and then also some of the special forces from Afghanistan are there.
Yeah.
The police say, like, basically, they give us the middle finger, like, screw you guys. It's Ramadan, and we don't want to do this mission. And they literally roll up 50 cals and like basically like try to take us hostage in some ways. The ANA pull their gun trucks up and pull up on them as well. So they're like, hey, you guys are corrupt. Like, screw you guys. And then our guys are all like sitting in like houses and stuff, and we're, you know, looking at everyone. And I mean, this is a real story, and you can ask any of my unit. I'm not even making this up. I like sometimes fabricating a story. This is a real story.
Right. No shit. This is a real no shitter.
And so we're like in our at this point, we're no actual officer that has, you know, is all fancy is going to come visit us. So we're wearing shorts, you know, and like Army PT shorts with our, you know, short sleeve because it's hot, and then our body armor, helmet, and just all of our comms gear. So we're like running around. And we're like, what the fuck is going on? You know, and so you're like, holy cow. And I remember the colonel who was my favorite officer that I've ever worked with, Colonel Thule. He was a Citadel grad. I remember him coming down from the TOC, and he was like kind of wearing the same outfit. And he just like looks at everyone, and he's like, what are we doing here? And like he somehow had his interpreter there. I was actually in charge of the interpreters, and he de-escalates the situation, and everyone kind of goes about their way. But kind of go back to your point, you're like, oh man, it was a tough year, you know, and it was just a very tough environment to get people to want to work together on anything. You know, you're talking about the VBID. Yes. Yeah.
All right. Have you ever heard of a donkey VBID?
No.
So I come out of this meeting with the police chief and the little sure with the elders, and I come walking out, and I see this young boy, maybe 8, 9 years old, and he's running down the street with a switch, a stick, and he's yelling in Dari to this donkey that's running down the street. So in my mind, I'm like, oh, donkey got loose, kid's trying to catch it. And so I move real quick out of the compound and get in the middle of the street and stop the donkey. And so I get it, and the kid's all happy and Tashakur and all that, and I give him the donkey back. And the staff sergeant comes out and goes, sir, come here. I got to talk to you. And I'm like, yeah, staff sergeant, what's going on? He goes, you're a goddamn idiot. Look at that thing. They'd sacrifice that kid in a heartbeat to blow you up. I'm here to protect you. You want to live? You listen to me. You don't ever do anything like that again. I'm like, staff sergeant, I'd like to live this tour. Please, I will listen to anything you say. This lieutenant colonel will listen to you. I'm just an idiot aviator. I'm not a ground pounder. I don't admit to being a door kicker. So that was interesting because I took a picture of me with the donkey. Oh, did I lose you? I'm sorry. I took a picture of me with the donkey, and when I had the picture and I looked at it later on, it had the like saddlebags, and in the saddlebag was propane tanks. And I'm sitting there thinking, God, that guy could have made a donkey VIBD, you know, easily could have had something and blown that kid up to get us. So who knows, you know, that taught me one thing, you know, everybody's one Allah short of being not friendly. So be very careful, right? We got to the point in 08 where if you went to the bathroom, you went to the HID, used the porta potty. Hey, come here, David. I got to take a HID break. And you're standing out there in front of the HID. So nobody comes rolling up, getting in the yellow one, or rolling up, throwing a hand grenade under, or rolling up and just shooting you. Because the attack started happening. And that, once again, just made you cringe. I was ready to go home.
Yeah, no, I was too. We had that happen right near the end of our deployment as well. So again, I'll give a good shout out to like our interpreters were awesome, and our ANA partners and some of the, you know, Afghan Special Forces guys were great for the most part. But there was just so much corruption outside of that, and we had both those situations, I think. So I was there when Bin Laden was killed. And,
oh, no way.
Yeah, and that was only about 30 miles from our base. So I remember getting back from a mission like a couple days after this happened, and everyone, all my friends and family were like, hey, coming home? I'm like, that's not how that works. But later in the deployment, we had that situation where that soldier kind of lost his mind and went and killed that family. I don't know if you remember that. And then also the Quran burning thing where they burned a bunch of Qurans in a burn pit.
Yes.
And
Yes,
so,
I do remember that. Yeah.
Right. So the country kind of got real hostile for a little bit. And that was right near the end of our deployment. I'm like, oh gosh, you got to be kidding me. And we did have a friendly fire incident, like where on one of our brigade bases, we had a Afghan National Police person open fire and kill some of our unit. And that was right near the end. So it was like, geez, like you said, I'm just ready to get out of this.
I'm ready to go home. Yeah. When I left, made friends with all the different groups and whatnot. And the Afghan National Air Force was being trained by, there was a group in, I think I even have their patch around here somewhere. Yeah. Combined Air Transition. It's a coaster. But so those guys were Air Force officers training the Afghan pilots how to fly the Hinds and the hip 8s and whatnot. Well, they had this one guy that they tagged for smuggling drugs and doing stuff, and he was up under investigation. So they had a board. They're on base. They feel they're safe. This guy walks into the boardroom. There's 8 officers and a couple Afghans. He pulls his 9mm out, shoots them all point blank. Yeah, and you sit there and go, "Oh, that was horrible." Oh, okay. So that's the bad stuff. So that gives enough to give you a PSD, PTSD, or however you want to call it. But definitely you come home and now one of the things, the highlight of your life for 10 years, you started going to an Irish beer fest, right?
Yeah. So it's the Milwaukee Irish Fest. It brings a twinkle to my eye whenever I talk about it. I won't even hide it. So I actually was going to Joint Fires Observer course in Fort Sill right before I deployed to Afghanistan. And like I told you earlier, I was a little bit sneaky and someone that liked to get away with things. So I finished my training the first week on a Friday and kind of helped the other people do their training, make sure I did that. And then I saw that there was this opportunity I had a car. It was only a 12-hour drive. I'm someone that likes driving. So I drove up to Milwaukee from Fort Sill and I drove through the night. And again, this is like something that.
Did you take somebody with you or no?
No, just me.
You idiot. You need an A driver. Come on. You're an officer. You know that.
Exactly. I said, I'm not someone that did well at following the rules. I just assumed that I would survive all these crazy ideas of mine. So I got there, I slept in the parking garage for a couple hours and I ran a 5K and then went to this festival. It's the largest Irish festival in the entire world. And so they get 150,000 people. And I just started talking to people and listening to music, and they have 4,000 volunteers every year that run this festival. So I was like, all right, this is such a fun thing. Right on Lake Michigan. And I ended up driving back the next night and, come back to training pretty tired, but
yeah, a little bit,
finish that up and fast forward 8 years. I'm out of the Army. I get out of the Army in 2015 and had been kind of running my own industrial business, doing sales with the rail industry and steel industry, successes and failures, all that kind of stuff. But, I was looking for something to give back to community and to feel that kind of camaraderie again, and looking around, hearing the kind of like lack of resources connecting to the right people, or even being able to find the opportunities of where to even volunteer. I was in a huge city. I moved back to Chicago, and it was still hard for me to find the opportunities to even volunteer or to connect to people that were doing that kind of stuff. And so I had an opportunity through the Irish Fest to set up a veteran and first responder community area. And this is actually this year, kind of looks like that in some fashion. It's even bigger at the Irish Fest. And they allowed me to set up this whole committee. They said, hey, we'll brand this as the Hero Hut. They came up with a name.
Really?
And we'll allow you to invite all veterans, first responders to get in for free. They'll have free coffee, beverages. They'll have free popcorn, snacks, all that kind of stuff.
That looks great.
Yeah. And then so the opportunity that we had after that, though, I said, well, what if we can do this a little bit different than any other kind of person or company, organization does before? Can we make it more collaborative? And again, the leadership there, amazing people. Between the Ward family, and I'm going to give shout outs to all of them, the Ward family, to Mike Mitchell, Matt, Nancy Flagg, Joe Haggerty, they basically opened the doors to me to do whatever.
And is this when you started Lionheart? I mean,
I did. Well, so it was right after this. So we did this first event, and they said, you know what, you tell us what you think would make sense for a community area at our festival. Right. And I reached out. They opened it up to a committee, and I was able to get a few Vietnam veterans on my team. I had a few people from the VFW. One of the board members, her husband was a Vietnam veteran, infantry man. Can hardly hear Joe. I'll make fun of you a little bit, but he's like a saint, and so is Nancy, who his partner is, and they are just both amazing people. And they both literally threw their whole hearts into this committee and said, okay, what can we do? And by the time we ran this first Hero Hut, we had 12 other, second year 12, first year 9 other nonprofits. So,
wow,
you had the VFW, SBA, we had Honor Flight, we had Guitars for Vets, we had all these organizations set up at our Hero Hut to where, you have 100,000 people coming through, and you have all these, veterans and first responders, and they're seeing, oh, wow, this is a really cool collaborative opportunity to have a community. And it just really kind of was a game changer in that way.
At any given time, so I roll in and I go to your festival. How many different organizations? A sea of goodwill. So you have collected a sea of goodwill within just the Indianapolis or the Milwaukee or each place. So each place you set up a Hero Hut now, right? You have a collaborative. Are they all different?
So the goal is to kind of, so after that first one, we said, oh, wow, that really worked out. We knew we were going to do it again. The Milwaukee Irish Fest said, you can stay here indefinitely. It was really a big hit. We did a Vietnam veteran recognition ceremony for about 300 or 400 Vietnam veterans. We brought out a Marine Corps colonel. We held a ceremony with a Irish band. We took the main stage. They allowed us to use the main stage for over an hour.
Wow.
There's 17 stages here at the Irish Fest, and they let us use the main stage for an hour. And we did pinnings for over 300 or 400 Vietnam.
I was going to say, out of 150,000, did you say, let me see a show of hands, how many Vietnam vets do we have?
And there were, right, but they came out, and there were, tears in the eyes of these Vietnam veterans, these guys that have kind of been either spit on or felt like they were abandoned in society. To have that kind of ceremony at a festival is unheard of. And so the Irish Fest had such a good turnout, and the founder of it, Ed Ward, who just passed 2 years ago, unfortunately, one of the biggest hearts of gold ever, he worked with the Peace Corps, and he was in Vietnam. So we got to pin him as the first person to receive the pin, and it was an awesome ceremony. And so going forward, they're like, do this, maybe consider going to other events. And then, So we incorporated as a 501c3. We're all volunteers. We got the ball rolling, and then COVID hit. And so you're like, oh shit, well, all right, we're stuck. But during that time, we were able to get about 15 other West Pointers on board. We had about 15, other people from Navy, Air Force, Vietnam vets to even a lot of my friends that were just not even in the military jump on board, and we made this a real organization. And so COVID eventually was almost a blessing in disguise, because we built our organization the right way. We came up with, all the branding, the infrastructure to make this scalable. And so now we're at that point where we're there.
So you're kind of like making it a franchise.
In some way,
if Joe Smuckatelli from Tulsa, Oklahoma, wanted to have it at the Brickyard for the big ball game, and he wanted to set up his own Hero Hut, you've basically got a template that you can give them and say, hey, this is how we do it. You're under our organization. You get vetted, and here's how we're going to work it. We'll train you. And
absolutely. And, the franchise model sometimes can turn people off, but that is real. We've designed it to be a more of a collaborative person. I'm like, again, I told you I'm a history nerd. I'm also kind of a book nerd. I always loved Lord of the Rings, and one of the things that I really loved was Camelot. The idea of a round table, a group of people that had their own unique interests, passions, and skill sets coming together to serve a greater good. And one of the primary things that we're trying to do with Hero Hut is encourage people that through service, you can create a better community no matter where you're at. And it doesn't have to be, 40 hours a week. It doesn't have to be, even 10 hours a week. But if you do something for a greater good, and if you're part of a cause, it allows you to not only find a little bit more fulfillment in your own life, but you're giving back and creating a better world. So,
Sure.
And one of the things with Hero Hut is we're not trying to recreate all the wheels. We're trying to, almost promote all these other awesome organizations that are already out there.
Right. So if somebody wants to contact you to set up Hero Hut San Antonio, where would they go? What do you want me to tell them?
Give us a call. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We're on Twitter. You can go to info@herohut.org and send us an email. You can always reach out to me. My email is david@herohut.org, but we have our Texas team is growing pretty quick. We're about to redo our website completely, but you'll see all the regional director type information on there. So we have an Austin team that's being built and a DFW team that's also being built. And we actually just are about to sign on a second PGA Tour event down in Texas. So
does that look right? Hero Hunt, contact them at info@herohunt.org.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet. So if anybody watches this and they want to do it, they can freeze frame this, type that email down, and give you a shout for sure. And just want to volunteer and help as well, right? So Are you guys doing one in Fort Worth, or were you going to be in Texas?
So we're gonna expand pretty quick. So we're doing a couple different events. So the idea is about trying to do 3 or 4 major events in each city per year. So major events would be, festivals to get about 100,000 or more, a professional sporting event like the Cowboys or the PGA Tour, which we'll be doing in Texas for sure. And then we're also doing smaller level events that would be Hero Hut Gives Back, which is a volunteer day. So we're going to be kind of sponsoring a park cleanup or something along that nature. We're going to be collaborating with all the local nonprofits. And then also, as you brought up in the intro, having some brewskis along the way and making it a fun day. So,
I think I got a picture of some beer.
Yes.
There you go, drinking beer.
Service Brewing is that was our Veteran Day 5K over in Savannah. So Savannah is one of our biggest chapters so far. And Jeremy, big shout out to him. He's a pilot. I think you might know him, maybe Taco. I think Jeremy was the one that put us in touch together. He flew for the 160th, and he is now flying for, I believe, Amazon. So he's down in Savannah, and Jeremy is doing well.
Yes. That's right. You know what? Damn, did I just see him at the schoolhouse? I can't remember. I got to think about that one.
He's an Army rugby player, but great guy as well. Gets after it. So,
well, you know what? When we get off air, we'll collaborate on some stuff because Lockheed has the big football game, college football game at TCU right down the road. And, Arlie Ermy used to come to it, Commandant of the Marine Corps, different people come to this event. It's a pretty big event. And it's all the veterans show up to this thing because they give out free tickets for veterans.
So that's the whole point.
Perfect.
That we actually just had. I was on a call with University of Wisconsin yesterday because they're playing Army this year. So I was on the call with our Wisconsin regional director, and we're trying to get into tailgates because when you think about it, that would be ideal for a Hero Hut. So you have all these people. The concept is you want a low key area where if you need help or if you want to connect with the local area or make some friendships or networking, you're not going to do it if you have to search on Google for 3 hours or go to the VA for 4 hours and sit in the hospital because it's depressing.
Right.
You want to go to the spots where you're already enjoying it. And then if you imagine if Hero Hut becomes kind of like a little bit of a bigger brand and all we're doing is facilitating community, you go to this TCU game and you see like a big 20 by 40 tent and there's 20 nonprofits and all the veterans and flags and all that kind of stuff. You're like, oh, like I feel welcome here,
right.
And then all of a sudden it's a different feel, and all of a sudden you're like, hey, maybe I will talk to the VA today. Maybe I will talk to this person, or maybe I need help with a home loan. And you talk to ADPI, who is the active duty passive income, who's helping with real estate, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe RTAG is there, and they're talking about how to transition from being an aviator to getting your civilian license. So
Yeah.
you have all those resources in one spot, and it makes it a real cool setting for that.
Speaking of, you're going to be out in San Diego in October 22nd for the conference, right?
Yeah, we can't wait. So we're gonna Hero Hut. We're adapting our mission as we go, because it's you always got to stay a little bit flexible. So we're really excited to go there, because RTAG is an amazing organization. So we're going to be live streaming their whole show for them. We're going to be doing interviews with all the people attending, along with all the donors and sponsors, and Erik and Josh and Tim, and so it's gonna be really cool. So we're not going to necessarily be setting up a normal Hero Hut there, but we're going to be just kind of amplifying their voice to the world.
Sure. And you know what? What a great place to grab guys that are all over the country. Mm-hmm. So you can probably get a fire team going in some of these major areas, and have that fire team build the Hero Hut for you and get it going. So that's fantastic.
It really doesn't take much. I mean, when we got started, like I told you, it was just me saying, hey, I literally called the direct general line of the Irish Fest and said, hey, I want to volunteer or do something. Yeah. And we somehow got connected to the executive director, and then Hero Hut started. So, when we're doing this, we did all the groundwork behind the scenes now. So now if people want to do something, build a Hero Hut, and they have the right connections, I would say that, if you really want to do a Hero Hut, you need to be someone that's a little bit more extroverted or passionate. You don't need to be extroverted, but someone that has the energy to want to help, but other than that, that's all it takes, because we have the behind the scenes work now that we can support you and give you all the flyers, T-shirts, business cards, all that kind of stuff, to where you could set up shop wherever.
I got a guy named Steve Gamblicker. He's an Army buddy of mine, retired 05. Lives just down south of me here. He is retired. He's looking for something to do. I think I'm going to have to call Steve up. And I've got a bunch of other hard charging volunteers. I think this is something we could really do, because with roll call and with Marine Metroplex Coordinating Council and things, we get all these people come in and talk to our veterans about this or about that or about how to do this. It would be nice getting everybody in to an area like that, have some chow, have some beer, and then let them roll, see what happens. It helps those organizations out and helps a vet out. And that's the whole thing. You make me so proud, David, because as I start looking at all of the things that you've accomplished, it's guys like you that take a small dream, and it's not about making money or being famous or being rich. It's about taking care of the guys, because like my wife says, why do you volunteer so many different organizations? Well, because I'm blessed I came home whole. A lot of guys didn't. A lot of guys didn't come home at all. So I would hope that there would be guys like you that would take care of my wife or my kids, or me if I was in a wheelchair or had an organization. So I just want to say thank you so much, buddy. From the bottom of my heart, you are one of my heroes. Hero Hut is named appropriately, and you really are a hero. And I know you're going to deny it, but if everybody out there just took a bit of their precious time and created something as valuable as you have, this would be a far better world.
Yeah, well, yes, I always hate getting complimented, but I do agree with your last point. I just think, again, and that's the point of Hero Hut, it's a collaborative community. I mean, my whole goal, if I could have it my way, I could eliminate my face off of Hero Hut, my story off Hero Hut, and it would be a life of its own. And you would have just people saying, you know what, I see a concept where if I give an hour every month, I'm making the community a little bit better. Yeah. And it doesn't take much. You just got to use your own passion, your own drive, and do something. Like you said, just do something. You do something for an hour for someone else, and the world would be much better.
Yeah, well, I know you're saying you're being modest, and I get it. You really are a modest guy. You're like my friend Jay Pellicone, who I'm going to have on later. He's retired Marine 06. He calls me up one day. I've flown home from China. I've been up for 20 some hours. I am whipped, and I'm driving home, and he calls me up and goes, "Hey, Taco, I got this great idea. I want to run it by you." I go, "Okay, what is it?" He goes, "I want to start this thing called 100 vets who give a damn. And I go, okay, what's the concept behind this? And he goes, this is brilliant. I went to this thing in Dallas. It was called 100 Men Who Give a Damn. And they have 3 charities show up. They do a pitch for 5 minutes with no AV, straight from the heart. And the best pitch wins. Everyone puts in $100. They walk away with $10,000 in one night. And the beauty is we don't collect the money. Everybody, participants that are there, guests, write a check to the organization. The organization now sends them a letter from the charity standpoint, and we just get together and have fellowship, and we do it. And if we do 100 vets, then we could give 10,000. Well, it went, and we had 50 showed up the first month, and then word got out, and then we had 75, and then we had 100, and then before COVID, I think we got up to like 125, 150 guys. And it was, guest speaker in between while we're counting up the tally, the votes and stuff. And it just, what a great way to give back to a veteran-related organization in one night. And plus, you get to drink some beer, some wine that's donated. You got food that was donated, and you just had a really, really good time. And that all started with Jay going, hey, what do you think about, so just a fantastic guy. I'm going to have him on the show as well.
Yeah,
so,
I look forward to looking to it. And to get to that point, the other thing about Hero Hut that I've really taken hold of is that dual element of you get people to want to serve, you find the right organizations, but you also create that social bond.
Yeah.
Someone like me, yeah, of course I've been through a lot, and yeah, there's been dark days and some failures along the way. But I feel I'm a pretty happy person overall. I'm blessed, and I have my faith, and and so I may not need resource help from, homeless organization or whatever, but I do need to be surrounded by people that are going to encourage me. And so Hero Hut is promoting that, but also promoting all these other organizations out there that are doing great stuff. And a lot of times when you're a veteran or someone else, you don't know what's out there until you show up and you're like, oh, wow. Well, for instance, Savannah, there's this awesome organization, Fight the War Within. And they have been doing just amazing things. They came out to our event and they tackle veteran suicide. And they do it in a local way. Right now, they're thinking about going nationwide, but they're really hitting the Savannah community. And they're amazing people. They're firefighters, they're veterans, they're people that have experienced it in their own families, veteran suicide. And it's just like one of those organizations. If you don't know who they are, you don't know how to reach out to them or even volunteer with them. And so Hero Hut allows them to just kind of get their word out there. And again, it's not about Hero Hut. It's about the collaborative community to where it's kind of flipping on its head. Because again, one of the major problems, I know I'm talking a little bit faster because I'm getting more happy about talking about this mission.
Yeah.
The biggest things that's coming our way of helping each other is ego, and the ego of your own niche company or your own niche nonprofit, your own niche vision. And the idea with Hero Hut is that you should have that passion or that unique vision or skill set or whatever it may be, but you can use that to come together and do even better than you could alone.
Sure.
So,
well, you've got a great, you got Zach Barrow, right? Zach?
Yep.
Zach and Jacob and Randy.
Yep.
Jacqueline.
Yeah, JJ. And we're about to revamp our website, but there's going to be about 15 other people. We have Authentically American, who's a veteran-owned clothing company, West Point grad from the 90s.
Yes.
Dean Wegner, who's over in Nashville, and then a Taylor Justice with Unite Us, who's another West Point grad who's doing amazing things. And there people are just jumping on because it doesn't take much to do what we're trying to do. It's just, again, do what you can. And it's kind of like the military. It's like any service organization, just do something and you're helping.
Right.
So,
well, I'll tell you what, everybody, if you would like to join David and his crew, Hero Hut, contact him at info@herohut.org. If you have any questions, because my Facebook was cut off, I don't think I'm going to have a lot of questions tonight live for you to answer, but I'm sure if you go back somebody might have some questions or post some stuff. Hey, David, I can't thank you enough, brother, for coming on tonight and spending your evening. Where are you? Where are you located right now?
I'm here home at Indianapolis.
So you're still central. You're Central Time, right?
Eastern Time, actually. So Northwest Indiana is Central Time, right near Chicago. But yeah, it's good. I'm going to be traveling a lot this fall and summer, but I'm excited. Looking forward to it. We have a amazing Heroette team, and it really gets me fired up to be a part of it. You know, there's those days where you kind of, especially last year with COVID and politics, it gets you a little depressed.
Yeah.
And I think if you get too much into the weeds there, like you were talking about earlier, talk about Facebook or all this kind of stuff, you get a little bit down on yourself and a little bit angry. But when you surround yourself with the people that are on fire for others and are just getting after it, it remotivates you.
Well, you made a great night for me tonight. I was a little depressed thinking about jail time and I'm lucky, 24 hours. Yeehaw. But I'll tell you this right now, you bring your son down here, we'll go pull the armor out and go drive around. We'll take him through Chick-fil-A, the drive-through. I've got a video on YouTube.
Yeah, send it to me. He's still awake. He's been quiet. I allowed him to watch this, but he's very excited about that. He's going to probably ask me about this now until I take him down to your spot down there. I promise you that.
Yeah, how old is he?
He's 7. He'll be 8 in September.
Put him on here. Come on the video here.
Yep.
Hello.
Hey, you know how proud I am of your dad? Hold on a second. Let's fix that. There we go. You know how proud I am of your dad? He's a great man. Mm-hmm. And I know you're going to grow up to be just like him. It's great mom and dad to raise you, and you're going to be just like him. So thank you so much for letting me borrow your dad tonight, because I know he was telling me about reading you stories and putting you to bed and doing stuff. So I'm sorry that we were kind of delayed, but I can't thank you enough. All right. And when you come down, I promise you, here's the tank. It's not a tank. It's a Fox armored scout car, but I got the ferret in the background and I got the Fox up front with the 30mm cannon. So I will definitely take you for a ride. All right. Is that a deal? All right. Thumbs up. Yeah, that's a deal. Well, listen, you hold on one second, David, and I'll pull you off and then we'll catch up in a second. And I'll say goodbye to all the folks. Thanks so much, brother. Guys, thank you again for joining us on Tall Tales with Taco tonight. Incredible night, because, you know, when you're sitting there dealing with guys that are motivated to do things for the right reason, that's what makes me happy. Interviewing folks. Somebody asked me, why do you do this? I do it because it's cool, and I get to meet really awesome people that out there doing things, making things happen for a reason and doing it for the right reason. And that's what I love. So until I see you next week, I've got a great show lined up next week. Len Lauder is going to be coming on, and he is an incredible Marine from Vietnam. He's going to talk about doing the right thing and helping out vets as well. So I look forward to that. Until I see you guys next week, adios, hasta luego, auf Wiedersehen, tschüss, sheshini, au revoir, domarigato gozaimasu, tando shinde kudasai. Ciao, what'd I miss? Anyway, have a good one, guys. Thank you again for joining me.